The viewing and drawing area in Revit is this area right in the center of our screen that allows us to see each of our individual Revit views. In this case, we have the level 1 first floor plan open. In order to be able to tell that it's just one individual view, move your mouse up into the upper right-hand side of the screen and hover over this little double box that shows up here, and now select on it. By doing this, it'll begin to minimize this down on your screen. And we can tell that this is an individual viewport of our Revit database, or in this case, of the level 1 first floor view. If you want to be able to move it around on your screen, click and hold the mouse button down on the bar going across the top, and you'll notice that you can drag this from left to right or up and down on your screen. And technically, this big gray area is the background for your viewing and drawing area. Now let's move over here to the left-hand side and double-click on Level 2. As we can see, this opens up a different view inside of the viewing and drawing area. It too has its own dimensions and properties associated with it. Some of these properties are controlled by the View Control Bar, which is where the scale and different view property buttons are located at the bottom of your screen. You'll notice that each of these different views, in this case the Level 1 and Level 2, each has its own individual view control bar with different settings that can be set in order to be able to adjust the way that the view looks. Also, each one of these views has these 3 buttons here at the top of the screen. If I wanted to be able to maximize one of these views in particular, select on the middle button, and it'll maximize out that view that you selected for the middle button. If you do the same thing again, it'll minimize it down so that we can now see both of our views. If we want to be able to activate one view over the top of the other view, move your mouse to the other view and click on the heading for that one. And you can now see that this one becomes the active drawing area and moves to the foreground of the drawing area where we're going to be doing our manipulation. If we want to be able to resize these windows, we can. Simply move your mouse over to the edge and it'll turn into a little double arrow. When you see this double arrow there at the edge of your view, click and hold your left mouse button down and then move the mouse from side to side. This is going to allow you to resize your window on the screen. So if we wanted to be able to have one window up in this corner, another window over on this corner, it's just a matter of clicking and holding your mouse button down and dragging it over in order to be able to resize these windows to the size that you'd like them to be. If you'd like to minimize these windows down so that they're no longer open, as far as being able to actually see the content inside of them, but you still want them open on your screen, move your mouse up here to the bar going across the top, highlight where this dash is at, and then select. You'll see that the view is still open, but it's been minimized all the way down and to the left-hand side of your drawing area. If we'd like this to be maximized back up again, you can do the same thing. Click in the same spot, but instead of a dash, you'll see 2 little boxes on top of each other, and this will expand it back out again. Also, if you click on the red X that's associated with the view, we can see that that will close the individual view down. Also, if we want to be able to expand this view out, you can once again move your mouse over, select on the middle button, which you can see is maximize, and it'll expand this out. So the viewing and drawing area, it contains each of the individual Revit views. Each of these Revit views has its own set of properties which can allow manipulation of that particular view. The Properties palette controls the individual properties and displays the individual properties of different things inside of a Revit project environment. Now the Properties palette itself is located over here at the side, and it has 3 distinct different areas associated with it. The bar going across the top is called the Type Selector list. The second part is directly below the Type Selector list, and this is your Instance Properties. The third spot, technically not on this bar, but the button to get to it is called Edit Type. And Edit Type allows you to get to the type properties of an individual object. Now, let's go ahead and review what each one of these does and how it affects your Revit model. To do this, I'd like to change a couple of the doors that are inside of our bathroom currently. And we can find that bathroom right in this area over here between the blue and the green colors. Our best bet is to be able to zoom in on that area. So simply somewhere out here in the white area, click once. That activates the view. Move your cursor so it's right in the area where that bathroom is located at. And now move the wheel on your mouse, just spin it up and that will allow you to zoom in on the bathroom area. If you'd like to see it centered a little bit better on the screen, simply hold the wheel down on the mouse and then move the mouse just a little bit in order to be able to center the bathroom a little bit better on your screen. Now we can see that there's two doors that lead either in or out of the bathroom. One is door number 103 and the other is door number 104. Now these are the exact same type of door, so they share the exact same structural properties as well as sizes, but they have different numbers. So this is door 103 and door number 104. Now we can see what the type properties of these doors are by selecting on the door itself and taking a look over here at the type selector list. The type selector list is really a pull-down menu. And if you click where this door shows up, we can now see the different types of doors which are loaded into our project. This particular project only has 3 different types of doors loaded into it. And the reason why this is called the type selector list is you can select which type of door that you want to use inside of your project off of the list. In this case, just to show the difference, move your mouse down and select on the numbers underneath M double flush. This is going to give us a double door that's going to be leading into the bathroom. As we can see, this door is way too wide. It's not going to fit into the bathroom. But we can see that we now have that double door type placed here inside of our wall. Now let's go ahead and change this back to the original type that it was. So once again, come over to the type selector list and choose on the numbers 800 by 2100. And this will change it back to that type of door. So the rule of thumb of the type selector list is it's going to allow you to be able to change a door or any kind of object inside of Revit from that type of object or that size of object to a different size or a different type. Directly underneath the type selector list, you have your instance properties. Your instance properties will only affect that specific thing that you have selected. In this case, I have a door selected and it has a mark number or a door number called 103. If we would change to be 199, you'll notice it won't immediately apply it underneath the view, but if you click on either apply or just move your cursor into the view, that door will become door number 199. So just this instance of this type of door has become door number 199. You notice it didn't change this door down here. Go ahead and move your mouse back over here to the mark and change it back to 103. Now we can see it's changed that information back to door number 103. But perhaps we want to be able to change both of these doors and their properties simultaneously. This is how you can do it. Move your cursor up and select on Edit Type. Once Edit Type is up, these are the type properties of the door. That means that each of these doors have this type of property associated with it. And even though only one of these doors is highlighted, because they're the exact same type of door, and this is the type properties, it's going to make the change to both doors. In this case, move down here to where it has width, and let's shrink these doors down, and we should see the doors get smaller on the screen. So instead of width being 800, change this down to a width of being a rather small 600. And then click on the Apply button in the lower right-hand side of the dialog box. We can now see that the door has in fact shrunk in both locations. Do the same thing again, except bring this back up to the 800 it was originally. And once again, click on Apply. Notice how both doors got bigger? It's because for this type of door, the properties changed, and every place this type of door throughout the entire project was located at, it's now changed these properties for that type of door. Go ahead and click on OK to this. So it's important to remember what the properties allow you to do. One is it will list what the properties of the objects that you currently have selected are. Also, each area has its own function. The type selector list will allow you to choose which type of door is placed or which type of object is placed in that location. The instance property portion will allow you to change the properties specific to that one kind of object. In this case, it allowed us to change the door number in one location. And the type properties, which is located underneath Edit Type, will universally change the properties of that type of object throughout the entire project. By default in Revit, there's a bar right next to the big R, and it's called the Quick Access Toolbar. Now, it's called the Quick Access Toolbar because it allows quick access to frequently used commands inside of the program. These commands we're seeing going across the top of the screen are currently showing up as being individual buttons. And if we would click on any of these different buttons, it would automatically execute that particular command. Depending on the resolution of your screen, this bar will continue on across the top of your screen, or you may get a couple of double arrows. If you have the double arrows, select on it like I'm selecting on mine, and you will see the rest of the Quick Access toolbar. Over at the very right of the Quick Access toolbar, you'll see a down arrow. This down arrow allows you to be able to do different customizations to this particular toolbar. So if you select on the down arrow, here we can see all the different commands that by default are on the toolbar. And in this case, we're going to remove this command right here, which is the measure command. So simply move down the toolbar and clear the check mark next to the measure. You'll notice that the measure tool no longer shows up on the Quick Access toolbar. Once again, move over there to the arrow pointing down, and let's bring the measure tool back by clicking on the word measure. And we can see that tool is now back on the toolbar. One of the things that a lot of people like to do is add their own commands to the Quick Access toolbar. After all, the whole purpose behind having it up there is being able to add commands to it so you have quick access to those commands anytime that you need it. In order to be able to add a command, the easiest way is to find it on the ribbon, such as the wall command, right-click when you get to that command, and select Add to Quick Access Toolbar. If you look then up at your Quick Access toolbar, you'll see that command up on the Quick Access toolbar. It also will have the little down arrow next to it with all the different kinds of wall commands, just like the original wall tool did on the ribbon inside of Revit. If you no longer want to have that tool available to you, move over the top of it again, right-click on it, this time inside of the Quick Access toolbar, and just tell it, Remove from Quick Access toolbar. A few other things that show up, though, when you do the right-click include Add Separator, which adds this line in order to be able to have separation between the commands so that the different commands are easier to find. There's also Customize the Quick Access toolbar, which brings up a menu structure with these exact same commands that we're seeing with the right click, and we'll do this here in just a moment, as well as Show Quick Access Toolbar below the ribbon. You notice that now it's below Revit's ribbon, so that if you're going to be working inside the program, you don't have to go all the way up to the top of the screen to find your commands. You can just move right up to here, select on whichever command you want to be able to execute, and it'll automatically execute it down below. If you want to be able to move it back up again, you go through the same process, except you tell it to show it above the ribbon, and it'll bring it back up to the top of your screen. As far as being able to customize it from a separate menu, come to that down arrow right there, and we're going to see that there's an option to customize the Quick Access toolbar. This is where all those different commands are available again, except this time it's going to be on this menu. If I wanted to be able to remove something, such as that wall which I never officially got rid of, you can highlight over the wall tool, and then click on the red X in order to be able to remove it. We could move these around by simply highlighting on the command and then clicking on the arrows, move the commands up, or be able to move the commands down. I'm next going to select OK in order to be able to get myself out of the editing of the QAT, or the Quick Access Toolbar. So the Quick Access Toolbar is a quick and easy way to be able to access your different commands inside of Revit. Located in the lower left-hand side of the screen, there's a gray bar that by default will say click to select, tab for alternatives, and have some other text. That's called Revit's status bar, and what it does is it gives you the current status of the command that you're currently in. For instance, if you come up to the top of the screen, underneath the Architecture tab and select on the Wall command, move your cursor out toward the drawing area without clicking. One of the things you'll notice is it'll say either extension of walls or extension of grid or click to enter wall start point. What it's doing is it's trying to give you feedback based on the command that you're currently in. In this case, it's saying click to enter the wall start point, which means it wants you to click the first location where that wall should start on the screen. If we hit escape a couple of times, we can get out of the command, and this time come up to the window command. And once again, move your mouse down into the drawing area. It'll tell you to click on wall to place window, and it'll give you some more information. This is the status of that particular command. So the function of the status bar is to give you an up-to-date status of the command that you're currently in so that you know what the next steps are in the placement process of whatever it is you're trying to execute. There are two main ways inside of Revit to be able to zoom around on your screen and be able to adjust the way that your view displays. The first way is to use the wheel on your mouse. The second way is to use the navigation bar over here on the right-hand side. Let's start off by using the wheel on our mouse, and it's probably going to be the way that you go about doing this the most. Start by just clicking somewhere on your screen. This activates the view so the view knows this is the view you want to be able to zoom in and out of. Next, move your mouse until the little arrow shows up over some portion of the building you want to be able to zoom in on. In this case, I'm going to point my mouse over these tables here on the screen. Now spin the wheel forward, and you'll zoom in exactly where your mouse is located at. Roll the wheel back, and you'll be zooming out. If I wanted to now see the furniture down in this part of our building, once the cursor is over the top of it, spin the wheel on the mouse to zoom in, and then spin the wheel to zoom back out. If you want to have this all get centered on the screen, or if you're currently zoomed in like this, you want to be able to see the full extent of the view, simply move your mouse out into sort of a blank area of the screen, and then quickly double-click the wheel on the mouse. By double-clicking the wheel, it'll automatically execute the Zoom Extents command, and it will take you out to the farthest out extent of the view. The next way that you can move around and zoom around inside of the program is by using the navigation bar. And the navigation bar and its tools show up over here on the side. By default, when you first start out, there's a good chance it's going to give you this zoom tool, and you'll see what looks like a little magnifying glass in a box. But I want to point out there's an arrow underneath that, and it continues to highlight the entire button if you go over the top of it. We'll click on the little down arrow right there, and you'll see a variety of different commands. There's zoom region, zoom out, zoom the fit, zoom all the fit, zoom sheet, as well as previous pan and zoom. Some of the ones you're most likely to use are going to include the zoom the fit, which if I click now, you're not going to really see much of a difference. And the reason is, when we did the double click on the wheel, the zoom in, that's exactly what this command does. So if I select on zoom the fit, you can see it zooms itself in, and now it's fitting all this information on the screen. Zoom all the fit does almost the exact same thing. There's zoom out 2 times. This takes you out 2 times farther than where you were before. There's zoom in region. This allows you to click once, hold your mouse button down, and sort of drag a box around your view. And wherever you let go of the button, that's where it's going to zoom into. So for instance, maybe I'd want to zoom in where these tables are located at. If I executed that zoom in region command, I click once where I want to start the actual zoom. And let me go ahead and click on the command just to make sure that it's activated. Click once, zoom around the area that you want to be able to zoom in on, let go of the mouse button, and then you'll see that you can zoom in to that area. If I want to be able to zoom back out again, remember I can do zoom all the fit, and it'll automatically take me right back out again. Finally, there's an option here that says previous pan and zoom, and if you select on that, it'll take you back to the last place that you zoomed into. And you can continue to click that, and it'll continue to remember each of those previous steps that you had just done. I think in the end, what you're going to find is that you're going to very rarely actually use these commands. You're going to be much more likely to just spin the wheel on your mouse in order to be able to zoom in and zoom out from somewhere. You'll also get used to double clicking on the wheel on the mouse in order to be able to zoom in and zoom out. That being said though, these tools underneath the navigation bar will help you out, particularly in the early going when you're still learning how to double click, create windows, and be able to just do the basic functionality of zooming in and out of your Revit project environment. So the different ways to go about zooming once again are by coming over here and doing it on the navigation bar, or by simply using the wheel on your mouse and spinning the wheel forward to zoom in and spinning the wheel again to zoom out.